In this video, I want to talk about what you can expect or should expect in an initial attorney-free consultation talking about your personal injury case. And ultimately, I think there's 7 things that you should expect to have accomplished in that initial meeting. First of all, understanding who the people are that you're going to be working with, meeting the attorney and their support staff. Number 2, you'll be asked a lot of questions about what happened, who you are, and your background, and be prepared to bring as much information into that meeting as possible. The third thing is learning how the law applies to your situation so that you understand from a legal perspective what it takes to win your case or the reasons you may not be successful. The fourth is what the fees are going to be. How does the lawyer get paid, and what are going to be the costs associated with your case? The fifth is what type of experts might need to be involved to win your case. The sixth thing is learning from the attorneys, can they support your medical recovery? Do they have medical providers that you could benefit from, and understanding how that works. And then lastly, you should understand how you're going to communicate with this firm, how frequently you're going to be meeting with them, and really understanding how the working relationship is going to go. Being comfortable with the firm that you hire and having trust and confidence in them is the goal. So you want to go into one of these meetings knowing what to expect and learning as much as you can. Number 1, at our firm, you should have an opportunity to meet not only the attorney that's going to be involved in your case, but also the team, and getting a feel for who you're going to work with and what type of people they are, I think, is important. At the first consultation with an attorney, you can expect to be asked lots of questions that are obviously relevant to your situation, but you'll also be asked all kinds of things that might not seem important or directly related. But the more information you can bring to that attorney, the better understanding they'll have of what happened and what the consequences were, but also who you are and your background and family life and work history and medical history. All these things are important in a personal injury case. So you'll be asked lots of questions and information, and I encourage you to bring with you as much information as you can to that initial meeting. One of the things you want to learn from the attorney is an explanation in simple plain English as to how the law applies to your case. Another way of saying this is, how do we win your case? So understanding what is the evidence we're going to need, what are the things we have to prove in court to be successful, and also an understanding of what are the challenges. So learning all about how the law applies to your situation and what evidence and testimony you need to gather to prove those things that are required by the law to win. That's something you need to understand. The fourth thing you need to understand from an attorney consultation is, what is it going to cost? Is this a contingency fee case, meaning the lawyer gets paid only if they're successful in delivering you a settlement or verdict, judgment, and getting paid? And what percentage do they take? Typically, most firms charge between 33% and as much as 45%, depending on the type of case. But the other thing you also want to understand are, what are the case expenses going to be, and who pays those? Does the client pay those filing fees and costs along the way, or will the law firm advance them and get them back at the conclusion of the case in addition to the percentage of the fees? So understanding how the lawyer gets paid and what it's going to cost is something you should expect to take away in that initial consultation. What is the game plan going forward? What do you need to do to get through your injury case, be it medical care, treatment, and then also what experts are going to need to be retained to support your case to prove it in court, and getting an understanding as to how we prove up the damages and address the damages that you've suffered. That's an important takeaway from that initial meeting, so that when you leave, you have an understanding as to, okay, here's what is going to happen going forward, and this is how I successfully get through my problem. What is the communication going to be like? Do they call regularly? Do they text? Do they email? Are there Zoom meetings? Are you going to meet once a month? Or are you just going to wait to hear from them until they think they have something to share with you? Having a good understanding of how the communication will occur going forward is important, so that the expectation is set and you know what to expect and you can hold them accountable. Good communication between you and your attorneys is the most important part of a successful case and working relationship. Good communication is the key. After that first meeting, you should have a good impression of a lot of information, including who the people are that you're going to be working with, how that relationship is going to work, what the time frame looks like, have an education as to how the law applies to your case and what the game plan is going forward to win it.